There is a brutal truth that few people dare to admit. Life doesn't give you what you want. It only gives you what you truly deserve, based on what you consistently do every single day. Many people wake up and ask themselves, do I feel inspired enough to work today? But look back, how many times have your commitments vanished into thin air just because the inspiration disappeared after a few short days? The truth is, winners never leave their lives to the luck of their emotions. They don't wait for the fire inside to blaze. They build a system that keeps the wheel turning, even when that fire has been out for a long time. If your strategy for success depends on how you feel today, then your results will forever be unstable. You rise when you're excited, and you hit rock bottom when you crash. You may start very strong, but you rarely finish anything completely. I want to tell you this: to build a sustainable life with meaningful results, you need a strategy stronger than your emotions. You need a structure, a solid system that keeps you standing even when your feelings change. Because trust me, emotions will change. But your work and your goals will still be there, and they need you to show up whether you feel ready or not. In today's special video, we're going to break down the golden principles that help you break free from the chains of mood and start running your life based on iron principles. We'll learn how to build discipline from the smallest things and how to systemize your own success. If you've ever wondered why you still haven't broken through, principle number 3 will give you the clearest answer. And stay until the end, because principle number 12 is the final gem, the one that can take you farther than anything else. This isn't just a lesson. This is a revolution in thinking. So you stop living at the mercy of emotional luck and truly start taking control of your destiny. Principle 1. Inconsistency, the number one enemy of success. Imagine you're trying to start a fire in the freezing cold of winter night. You strike a match, tiny sparks begin to catch on the dry wood, and a faint warmth appears. But the moment the fire finally starts to form, you stop because your hand feels a little tired. You tell yourself, tomorrow when I'm in a better mood, I'll keep going. But do you know what happens? When you come back the next day, the pile of wood is ice cold, and you have to start from zero again. Strike a match again, wait again, then quit again. That is exactly how most people run their lives. They don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they spend their entire lives doing one thing, starting over. Inconsistency is the most silent enemy that kills everything you could have compounded. In economics, we have the concept of compound interest. In personal growth, we have the compounding effect of behavior. When you work based on mood, you're cutting off the flow of progress with your own hands. You grind hard on Monday, then disappear on Tuesday because you lost the vibe. What's the result? You completely lose momentum. In physics, it takes massive energy to push a stationary cart and get it rolling. But once it's moving, it only takes a gentle push to maintain speed. When you're inconsistent, you're wasting your youth doing one thing, pushing the cart a few meters, letting it stop, then straining to push it from the beginning again. I remember the early days when I first started my business career. There were weeks when I felt like I could conquer the world. I called every customer, I gave speeches with total passion. But then all it took was one rejection or one gloomy rainy morning, and I allowed myself to be lazy because I wasn't feeling good. I brought this inconsistency to my teacher, Earl Schoaf. I complained about why my results kept rising and falling like a sine wave. He looked at me and said something I never forgot. Jim, the seed doesn't care about your emotions. The soil doesn't care whether you're happy or sad. If you don't plant in the spring because you feel down, then you will absolutely have to beg in the fall, no matter how happy you feel then. That sentence woke me up to the law of seasons. Nature runs on iron principles, not moods. From that point on, I learned to work like a real farmer. A farmer doesn't wait until they feel like it to go to the field. They go because the season demands it. Look at today's modern context. We live in an era of instant dopamine. Everything is fast. Everything has to feel good immediately. Young people today, talented generations, ambitious entrepreneurs, they post something on social media. If it doesn't get many likes, they feel bad and stop creating. They start a new project with excitement, but when they hit the first technical problem, they quit to chase a more exciting idea. They're confusing busyness with effectiveness. The only real difference between a professional and an amateur is this: the professional still shows up even after the spotlight is off and the early excitement has faded a long time ago. Self-discipline is not self-torture. It's the ability to do what you said you would do after the emotion you felt when you said it is gone. That is monotone consistency. Think of consistency like water dripping onto stone. If you dump a whole bucket of water in one loud splash, the rock won't change. But each drop falling steadily day after day will drill through even the hardest stone. Your mood is that loud bucket. Consistent discipline is the steady drip. Do you want to be the wasted bucket or the drop that cuts through stone? On this journey, the principles of success never change. You don't need to do extraordinary things. You just need to do ordinary things with extraordinary consistency. A little every day. One step every day. Don't let discipline be just a social media buzzword. Make it your breath. Now, I want you to pause and be truly honest with yourself. What is something you know you should do every day to reach your dream, but you only do it when it feels convenient? If you don't change this inconsistency today, do you really believe your life will be better 5 years from now? Remember this line: monotone consistency always beats inconsistent excellence. Don't wait until you feel good to take action. Take action to create a good mood. Consistency is the strongest foundation. But to maintain that consistency over the long, endless years, you need to understand one extremely important boundary. The boundary between temporary excitement and real commitment. That's exactly why we need to move to the next principle. Principle 2. Don't confuse excitement with commitment. There's a deadly confusion that most people make when they begin a journey to change their lives. They mistake temporary excitement for real commitment. What is excitement? Excitement is the rush you feel after hearing a great speech. It's the surge in your blood after watching an inspiring movie. It's when you write down huge goals on New Year's Eve, believing that next year you'll be a different person. But listen, excitement is just a chemical reaction in your brain. It comes fast and it leaves fast. It's like lightning cutting across the night sky, brilliant but gone in an instant. Commitment, on the other hand, is the light of a lighthouse. It's not blinding, but it's steady, and it guides you through the biggest storms. I want to tell you a story from my early days working with Earl Schoaf. Back then, I was full of enthusiasm. I told him, "Teacher, I'm committed to becoming rich. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes." Schoaf smiled and asked me one simple question. "Jim, are you committed because you feel good, or are you committed because you're ready to die for that goal?" At the time, I didn't understand. But just 2 weeks later, when my sales were stuck and the initial excitement faded, I started feeling tired. I wanted to sleep in a little longer. I started finding reasons to delay difficult calls. That's when I realized I wasn't committed at all. I was only excited about the idea of success. Many people say they're committed to losing weight until they see a delicious slice of cake. Many people say they're committed to building a business until they face boring spreadsheets and sleepless nights. Real commitment only begins after excitement has left you. In modern life, we're surrounded by promises about passion. People tell you, find your passion and you'll never work a day in your life. I'm sorry, but that's the sweetest lie I've ever heard. Even if you do the job you love most in the world, there will be days you hate it. There will be days it feels boring and meaningless, and that's when commitment speaks. Look at Olympic athletes. Do you think they always feel excited waking up at 4 a.m. in winter to jump into an ice-cold pool? Do you think genius pianists always feel passion while repeating a scale for 10 hours straight? The answer is no. They do it not because they feel like it. They do it because they are committed to a higher standard of living. The principles of success require you to separate emotion from action. Never ask yourself, do I feel like working today? Because your brain is very smart at chasing comfort. It will always answer no. Instead ask, what did I commit to doing today? Treat commitment like a contract you sign with yourself. When you sign a contract with a bank or a partner, you can't say, oh, my mood is bad today, so I won't fulfill my obligation. So why do you do that to your future? Why is your promise to yourself cheaper than your promise to a stranger? A real example in today's world of startups and freelancers. They often wait for the mood to create. But the most successful creative people are the ones with the strongest discipline. They sit at their desk at exactly 8 a.m., whether it's sunny or raining, whether they're in love or just got dumped. They know inspiration is an uninvited guest, but it only shows up when it sees you working relentlessly. Excitement starts the ship, but commitment is the engine that carries it across the ocean. If you rely only on excitement, you will always be a drifter. A drifter does things while they're new and fun. But when things get hard and monotonous, the drifter quits to chase a new excitement, and their life becomes a chain of beginnings that never end. I don't want you to be a drifter. I want you to be someone who builds a legacy. And a legacy builder understands this. The value of a person is measured by what they do when they least feel like doing it. Now look back at the goals you wrote down. How many of them are you still doing every day? And how many have been forgotten the moment the initial excitement faded? Stop searching for inspiration. Start searching for commitment. If you're truly serious, where would you start today? Choose the smallest thing and commit to doing it continuously for 21 days, no matter your mood. That's how you train your commitment muscle. Remember this sentence and carve it into your mind. Excitement gets you into the game, but commitment gets you to the finish line. Commitment is the foundation for building your own iron rules. And once you have commitment, the next thing you need is a system to protect it. Because commitment alone is easily shaken by harsh reality. That's why we need the next principle. Principle 3, the danger of losing trust in yourself. There is a very expensive price you pay every time you break a promise to yourself. It's not just a goal left unfinished or a task postponed. The real cost is the erosion of your self-respect. Every time you say, "Tomorrow I'll wake up at 5 a.m. to go running," then you hit snooze and keep sleeping. You just sent a message to your subconscious. My words have no value. I'm not trustworthy. Listen closely. Self-trust is the most valuable asset a person can own. It is the foundation of all confidence. Many people chase confidence through expensive clothes, luxury cars, or praise from others. But real confidence doesn't come from the outside, it comes from knowing. When I say I'm going to do something, it will get done. I remember a story from the 1970 seconds. I met a young man full of promise, with great ideas. He told me about his plan to change his life in 90 days. But every week we met again, he had a new reason why he hadn't started. This week I'm a little tired. This week my family has something going on. This week my mood isn't good. After a few months, I saw a change in his eyes. The enthusiasm disappeared, replaced by a dark, insecure look. He didn't just fail at work, he lost trust in himself. And once you don't believe in yourself, the world won't dare to believe in you either. In today's modern context, we live in a culture of canceling. We easily cancel appointments, cancel commitments with a single text. We think it doesn't matter. But your brain records everything. Every time you surrender to a bad mood, you weaken your willpower muscle. If you let emotion control action for too long, you'll fall into a state I call identity paralysis. You no longer know who you really are, or what you're capable of. Look at the most successful people I've ever met. They're not superhuman. They have days when they want to quit too. But they fear the feeling of betraying themselves more than they fear fatigue. They understand that protecting trust in yourself is the highest duty. Because if you lose $1,000, you can earn it back. But if you lose respect for your own word, you lose the compass that guides your life. Confidence is really self-trust. How can you walk into $1 million negotiation with confidence if you can't even wake up on time? How can you convince customers to trust your product if you don't even trust your own discipline? The principles of success teach us this. Success is a psychological game before it is a numbers game. And rule number 1 of that game is, never betray yourself. Never let a rainy afternoon or a temporary lazy feeling destroy the integrity you've worked so hard to build. Imagine your trust like a bank account. Every time you keep a commitment, regardless of mood, you make a deposit. Every time you break a promise, you make a withdrawal. Many people are living in spiritual bankruptcy. They owe themselves too many unfulfilled promises, and that's why they always feel anxious and afraid of new challenges. I want you to start your debt restructuring today. Don't promise huge things if you aren't ready. Promise small things, but execute them with absolute precision. Promise to read 2 pages a day? Do it, even when your eyes are heavy with sleep. Promise to make 5 calls to customers? Do it even if you were rejected on the previous call. The goal here isn't the 2 pages or the 5 calls. The goal is to tell your subconscious, I'm the one in control. Mood cannot control me. You'll be surprised how your life changes when you start rebuilding trust in yourself. Confidence returns. Your eyes get brighter. Your voice becomes firmer because you know you have the strongest support in the world, your own promise. Ask yourself right now, is there a promise to yourself you've been delaying for too long? Will you keep letting your self-respect erode, or will you start rebuilding it from this very moment? Don't wait until you feel confident to act. Act to build confidence. Remember this line, discipline is the price you pay for the freedom from insecurity. Once you have trust in yourself, you'll need an even stronger tool to maintain it. A tool that helps you stop fighting with your mind every day. That's when we need to turn discipline into something bigger. We need a foundation that turns effort into automaticity. Principle 4. Discipline, true freedom from chaos. There is a huge misunderstanding about the word discipline. Many people look at discipline and see a prison. They think that following a strict schedule, doing repetitive things, is stealing their freedom and creativity. But the truth is the complete opposite. Discipline is not shackles. Discipline is a launch pad. Look at a river. What gives a river the power to flow into the ocean and generate energy? It's because of the two river banks that contain it. Without those banks, the water would spill everywhere, sink into muddy puddles, and eventually evaporate. Your life is the same way. Without discipline, your energy gets scattered into useless things, and you will stay trapped in the chaos of temporary emotions forever. I often say, all of us have to endure one of two pains. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. What's the difference? The pain of discipline weighs only a few grams. It's just the temporary discomfort of leaving a warm bed. But the pain of regret weighs tons. It's the weight crushing your soul when you realize you wasted an entire life chasing short-term pleasures. Let me tell you about an experience of my own. In the 1,960 seconds when I began traveling everywhere to give speeches, my schedule was extremely packed. There were days I woke up in a strange city, exhausted from jet lag, and didn't feel like saying a single word. If I lived without discipline, I would have canceled that speech. But I made an iron rule for myself. When the stage lights come on, Jim Rohn must be there. I didn't need to know how Jim Rohn felt in that moment. I only knew my system required me to show up. And do you know what miracle happened? That discipline set me free. I no longer had to waste energy fighting myself. Should I go to work today? The answer was always yes. When you eliminate hesitation, you gain thousands of hours each year to create and do what matters. Discipline is the key that frees you from the chaos of your mind. In today's modern world filled with distractions, discipline is more important than ever. We're attacked by thousands of notifications, short videos, and invitations to be entertained. If you don't have the discipline to say no to trivial things, you will never have enough space to say yes to great things. Many people tell me, Jim, I want the freedom to do what I like. I answer, if you only do what you like, you will soon become a slave to low desires. True freedom is the ability to do what you know is right, even when you don't like doing it. That's when you master yourself instead of letting instinct drive you. Look at a successful startup. They don't succeed because they have the craziest idea. They succeed because they have the discipline to execute that idea every day for 5 years, 10 years. They have the discipline to control costs, the discipline to take care of customers even when they're losing money. Success principles always come with a price, and the price of freedom is self-discipline. Don't wait for someone to push you. Don't wait until circumstances force you to change. Build the 2 river banks for your life's river yourself. Start with the smallest things: discipline in eating, discipline in reading, discipline in how you use 1 hour after you get home from work. Visualize your discipline like protective armor. When the outside world is unstable, when your mood rises and falls, that armor of discipline will keep your spirit intact. It protects you from laziness, procrastination, and fear. A disciplined person is the freest person because they no longer depend on luck or inspiration. Now ask yourself, what part of your life is the most chaotic? Is it your finances, your health, or your career? That chaos is a sign you lack discipline in that area. Will you choose to endure the small pain of discipline today, or the massive pain of regret 10 years from now? Remember this, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Discipline helps you walk, but to walk lightly and without strain, you need an even more refined tool, something that helps you achieve results without relying on willpower so much. Principle 5, systems making decisions automatic. There's a mistake most of us make every morning. We spend too much energy just making basic decisions. Should I go to the gym this morning? Should I call clients now or check email? Should I start this project right now? Listen, every decision you make consumes a certain amount of willpower fuel. And if you have to use willpower to fight your mood every hour, every minute, then by midday you'll be exhausted. That's why you need a system. What is a system? A system is a set of processes that turns difficult decisions into automatic actions. It's like installing autopilot on the ship of your life. When you have a system, you no longer have to ask, do I feel like doing it? The system answers for you, it's time to do it. I remember the days I worked at the department store before I met Shof. I worked on impulse. If I felt good, I would organize the shelves neatly. If I felt bad, I would stand in a corner and complain about my low wage. But later, when I started building my own career, I learned this. The richest people in the world don't work on impulse. They operate on established processes. A good system helps you survive emotional low points. Look at how an assembly line runs. Machines don't care whether it's Monday or Sunday. They don't care if the input material is excited. They simply follow the process, step A, then step B, then step C. Your life needs assembly lines like that too. In today's distraction-filled world, if you don't have a time management system, the system will manage you. If you don't have a financial management system, debt will manage you. Look at young content creators on social media or tech startups. The ones who last the longest aren't the ones with the most ideas. They're the ones with the most consistent content production system. They have a specific schedule. What day to write scripts, what hour to film, what hour to post. That system protects them from laziness and the volatility of algorithms. Success principles teach us, never start a new day until it has already been finished on paper. That's part of the system. When you write your plan the night before, you eliminate morning hesitation. You wake up and execute. The system already made the decisions for you while you were still clear-headed and full of determination. Treat your system like a strict mentor. This mentor doesn't accept mood-based excuses. If the system says 10 a.m. is partner call time, then even if you feel anxious or afraid, you still pick up the phone. The system doesn't erase your emotions, it just takes away their control. Here's a metaphor I love. A system is like train tracks. The train is your energy and talent. Without tracks, no matter how powerful the train is, it's just a giant block of steel sitting on grass. But on tracks with just a little fuel, it can pull hundreds of cars for thousands of miles. The tracks keep the train on course even in darkness or heavy fog. Are you letting your life run on grass? Are you wasting your natural talent just because you lack a clear route? Start building your own system today. A system for health, a system for learning, a system for connecting with important people. Ask yourself, if tomorrow I completely lose all inspiration, what system will keep me from collapsing? If the answer is no system at all, then you're standing on the edge of failure. Don't wait for disaster to build a dam. Build your system while everything is still calm. Remember this, failures work based on mood. Successful people work based on systems. Systems help you automate action. But for a system to truly work, you also need to pay attention to your environment. Because sometimes negative emotions don't appear out of nowhere, they come from small influences around you that you don't even notice. Principle 6, the low friction principle in environment design. There is an invisible but brutally powerful barrier that always waits to break even your best intentions. That barrier is friction in your daily living and working environment. Imagine you want to go for a morning run. If you wake up and have to search for your shoes in a messy pile, dig through your closet to find workout clothes, chances are you'll sigh and climb back into bed. Not because you lack discipline, but because the friction to start that action is too high. Human nature always looks for the path of least resistance. Our brains are programmed to conserve energy. If you force yourself to battle your environment, you'll get exhausted before you truly begin. So instead of relying only on willpower, learn to design a low-friction environment. Prepare everything so doing the good habit becomes as easy as possible and maintaining the bad habit becomes as difficult as possible. Looking back at my years in the department store, I realized that if I kept order forms deep in a drawer, I would feel reluctant to pull them out and call customers. But when I placed them right on the desk, right in my line of sight, picking up the phone became as natural as breathing. Earl Schoaf once taught me, "Jim, don't make your willpower work overtime. Let your environment do that work for you." In today's digital age, the biggest friction lives in the palm of your hand, your smartphone. Social media notifications, unimportant emails, they are vicious friction points that derail focus. If you want deep work, leave your phone in another room. Create physical distance between you and distraction. When checking Facebook requires you to stand up and walk to another room, your brain will naturally get lazy and choose to return to work. That's how you use laziness to serve productivity. The philosophy of success requires us to become architects of our own lives. Never put yourself in a position where you must make hard decisions when your energy is low. At night, while you're still clear-headed, prepare everything for the next morning. Put the book you plan to read on your pillow. Put your workout clothes next to the bed. Put your list of the 3 most important tasks right on your desk. When you wake up, you don't need to think. You just slide along the low-friction track you already designed. There's nothing worse than having a great goal while living in an environment that drags you back. If you want to eat healthy, but your fridge is packed with junk food, you're committing suicide in terms of discipline. If you want to study, but your workspace is messy and noisy, you're sabotaging yourself. Remember, willpower is a finite resource. Environment is an infinite resource. Here's a metaphor I deeply believe in. Treat your habits like water flowing through a pipe. If your pipe is clogged with trash and dirt, the water can't flow smoothly. Your job isn't to create more water, it's to clear the pipe. Clear distractions, reorganize your space, simplify the steps. When friction drops to zero, the water will naturally surge. Many startups succeed today for one simple secret: convenience. They make it possible for customers to buy with one tap. They remove every barrier between users and the product. So why don't you apply that strategy to your own growth? Make learning, working, and training so convenient that you can't find a reason to refuse. The harsh reality is that we often do the opposite. We create endless friction for important things, and we leave the door wide open for meaningless things. We put the TV in the center of the living room, but hide valuable books in the back corner of a cabinet. We put social media icons on the first screen of our phone, but bury learning apps deep inside folders. It's time to reverse that process. Ask yourself right now, does your workspace invite focus, or does it invite distraction? Do the people you spend time with push you upward, or are they the friction dragging you back into the mud of complaining? If your environment doesn't serve your goals, be brave enough to change it. Remember this: smart environment design will always beat blind willpower. Once you minimize friction, your actions become smoother. But to truly break through and achieve results your competitors can't touch, you need a different kind of energy, a resilience that carries you through the hardest seasons. That's when we need an expanded principle, a secret I've distilled after decades of watching people reach the top. Principle 7, the 1% rule, the power of monotonous repetition. The reason most people quit right at the gates of heaven is a lack of patience with invisible results. Most of us want a leap, a dramatic overnight change, but the laws of this universe don't work that way. Great success isn't the result of one extraordinary action. It's the outcome of thousands of small, ordinary actions, repeated with absolute precision. This is the 1% rule, the secret of the world's top performers. Look at a bodybuilder. He can't build massive muscles after one brutal 10-hour workout. But if he trains for just 30 minutes a day, consistently for 5 years, the result will be a shocking transformation. Each individual workout seems to produce no obvious change. Even after a month, when he looks in the mirror, he still feels the same. That is the valley of disappointment, where 90% of people stop because they feel their effort is pointless. I remember the days when I first started learning to speak. I didn't become a master overnight. I had to stand in front of a mirror and repeat a single line hundreds of times just to find the right rhythm. Earl Schoaf taught me a priceless lesson about accumulation. Jim, don't look for leaps. Look for 1% improvement every day. He explained that if you're 1% better each day, then after a year you're not just 3 times better, you're 37 times better than who you were when you started. Thanks to the compound interest of skill. Monotony is the harshest test of a person's character. Doing something new is easy because excitement carries you. But doing the same old boring thing for the 1,000th time, that's when real discipline speaks. In today's world of flash and speed, we're easily fooled by overnight success stories. The harsh reality is that behind that one night of shining is 10 years of work in the dark that nobody ever saw. Look at how a programmer builds complex software, or how a writer creates a classic novel. They don't wait for an explosion of inspiration. They write lines of code, pages of drafts every day. They accept monotony. They accept that today looks no different from yesterday, because they understand accumulation is happening at a deeper level the naked eye can't see. It's like boiling water. From 1 degree to 99 degrees, it's still just hot water. But add the final 1 degree to reach 100, and the water boils, releasing steam powerful enough to move an entire train. Many young people today fail because they want the water to boil the moment they turn on the stove. They work hard for a week, see no results, and conclude, this doesn't work. They don't understand they're at 50 degrees, 60 degrees, and they only need to maintain the heat a little longer. The biggest resistance isn't the difficulty of the work. It's the boredom of doing the same things day after day. Becoming excellent requires you to tolerate boredom better than others. Weak people chase new stimulation, new strategies, new secrets. Strong people hold on to the fundamentals and repeat them until mastery. Never underestimate small actions. 1 extra customer call per day, 5 extra pages read waking up 15 minutes earlier. These may not seem important right now, but they are the strongest bricks that build your future castle. Your greatest asset isn't money. It's consistency in the smallest things. Ask yourself, what 1% action can I take today to be better than yesterday? Don't try to change your whole life on a Sunday morning. Change 1% of your habit on Monday morning, then Tuesday, then Wednesday. Success is a marathon, not a sprint. Remember this: We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. The 1% rule will take you farther than any natural talent. It helps you build a foundation no emotional storm can knock down. And once you master this small accumulation, you'll realize another truth. Your actions don't just create results, they redefine who you are. You're no longer someone who is trying to succeed. Principle 8. Action defines who you are, not words. This world doesn't care about what you plan to do, what you hope for, or the beautiful promises you make. The only measure life uses to value a person is the results of real actions. Many people spend their whole lives preparing for success, planning for success, but never truly acting for success. They confuse mental busyness with creating real value. But you need to understand this. No matter how great an idea is, it is dust if it is not shaped by the hands of relentless work. Your identity isn't built from thoughts in your head. It is forged from what you repeatedly do. If you say you're a writer but you haven't written a single page in a month, you're not a writer. If you say you're an entrepreneur but you've never faced risk and sold anything, you're just someone daydreaming about business. Earl Schoaf once looked me in the eye and said, "Jim, don't show me your plan, show me your action log." That's when I woke up to the fact that I had been living in the illusion of being busy. In an era where social media lets us build polished images, fake glamour is rising. People compete to talk about goals, visions, and lofty philosophies on their profiles. But look at reality when the phone screen turns off. Are they actually sweating in the gym or lying back waiting for a miracle? The gap between leaders and followers is the ability to close the distance between words and action. Truly strong people talk very little about what they're going to do. They let achievement speak. The philosophy of transformation requires you to change how you see yourself through action-based proof. Instead of trying to convince yourself, "I'm disciplined, do 10 push-ups every morning," that act is a vote for the disciplined person inside you. Over time, you won't need to force belief because the evidence will be right in front of you. Action creates identity. Then identity turns around and drives action. It's an eternal loop for successful people. Look at today's top startups and content creators. They don't wait until they have perfect equipment or perfect skills to start. They start with what they have, where they are, with the roughest actions possible. They understand action is the best way to learn and adjust. Mistakes made in action are worth 1,000 times more than being correct while standing still. Every wrong step teaches a lesson. Standing still only produces regret and a growing fear. The metaphor of a ship in the ocean makes this clear. A ship's steering wheel only works when the ship is moving. If the ship is still, you can spin the wheel as hard as you want, and nothing changes. Life is the same. The universe can't guide you if you refuse to move. Only when you start acting do new opportunities, new people, and new resources begin to appear. Action is the magnet that attracts luck. There's a paradox. We often wait until we feel like a successful person before we do the things successful people do. The truth is, you have to work like a successful person before the world recognizes you as one. Wake up early like they do, learn relentlessly like they do, and stay disciplined like they do. Your wallet may be empty right now, but if your actions are full of steady commitment, success is only a matter of time. Don't let a poor or tired mood define you. Let effort define you. Ask yourself a serious question right now. If someone looked at what you did in the past 24 hours without hearing a single word from you, who would they say you are? Would they see a warrior fighting for a dream? Or someone wasting time on meaningless pleasures? If the answer hurts, that's the signal you need to change immediately. Stop declaring, stop promising, and start working in silence. Remember this, you can't build a reputation on what you are going to do. Action is the only language success understands. It turns distant dreams into tangible reality. But on that road of action, there will absolutely be dark days when everything seems against you. Those are the days your mood hits rock bottom and your will is tested to the limit. And those days carry a special meaning most people never notice. Principle 9. Hard days are when the signal is strongest. Most people mistakenly believe the days full of energy, the days when everything goes smoothly, are when they grow the most. The truth is the opposite. The days you wake up heavy, when your body is drained and your mind wants to surrender, those are the golden moments that shape your character. In communication theory, a signal only has real value when it breaks through noise. Your life is the same. Acting when you're excited proves nothing because emotion is doing the work for your will. But when you act on your worst day, that's when the signal of your perseverance becomes the strongest and clearest. Look at the history of great people and you'll see a common trait. They are masters at pushing through dark days. Earl Schoaf once taught me, "Jim, anyone can sing when the sun is shining, but the person with real value can keep the rhythm in a storm." He emphasized that the universe is watching how you respond when things don't go your way. If you quit when it gets hard, you're confirming to fate that you're just an average person who got lucky. If you keep moving even when your legs ache, you're sending a hard message. Nothing can stop me. In the world of entrepreneurs and young professionals climbing the career ladder today, pressure from competition, rapid technological change, and repeated failures can pull people into deep discouragement. Many choose to escape, to take indefinite rest, waiting for a good mood to come back. But the brutal truth is that a good mood never returns to someone who stands still. It only returns when it sees you still fighting, even with scratches inside. Every time you beat laziness on a gloomy day, you've made a breakthrough greater than 10,000 excited workdays. The metaphor of forging steel will help you understand this deeply. To become a sharp sword, steel must endure the brutal heat of fire and relentless hammer strikes. If the steel only wants to stay cool and comfortable, it will remain worthless scrap metal forever. The hard days in your life are that fire and those hammer blows. They don't show up to destroy you. They show up to burn away weakness and forge a stronger self. Don't pray for an easier life. Pray to become stronger. There is a truth. Success isn't measured by what you achieve in easy times. It's measured by your steadiness in adversity. When you keep training in the rain, when you keep patiently serving customers after you've just been rejected, you're building an invisible but priceless psychological asset. That asset is absolute confidence that no external barrier can knock you down. The person who owns this asset becomes unbeatable because they have mastered their own signal. People often ask me, "Jim, how do I get through the feeling of wanting to quit?" My answer is always simple: just keep working. Don't analyze your emotions when you're at rock bottom, because your judgment is clouded by exhaustion. Execute the next steps like a programmed machine. Motion in the body pulls motion in the mind. Every small action you take during hardship is a brick that bonds broken self-trust back together. Action is the only cure for discouragement. Reality shows the people standing on top of glory aren't the ones who face the least hardship. They're simply the ones who turned hard days into their hardest training days. They know their competitors will quit on days like this, and that's their chance to pull ahead. The gap isn't created on straight, easy roads. It's created on sharp turns full of gravel. Smile when it gets hard, because that's when you start leaving the crowd behind. Ask yourself the next time you feel hopeless, do I want to send the signal of a loser or the signal of a champion? The answer is in your next action, not your next thought. Will you choose comfort for a moment or confrontation for lasting greatness? Don't let dark clouds of mood block the light of your long-term goal. Remember this: character is not revealed in ease, it is tested and developed through hardship and effort. Getting through hard days will help you accumulate undeniable proof of your own ability. And once you have enough proof, you will own a mental strength nothing can shake. That's when you move into a higher state. You no longer need outside encouragement. Principle 10, build confidence on evidence. The biggest mistake most people make when searching for confidence is trying to borrow it from empty affirmations. They stand in front of the mirror and shout, "I am strong, I am successful." But deep inside, a small voice still whispers, "You're lying." The simple reason is that your brain cannot be fooled by words without proof. It needs evidence. It needs to see a list of things you promised and actually completed. Real confidence is not some vague psychological feeling. It is the result of a proof portfolio accumulated day by day. Every time you carry out a disciplined action, even the smallest one, you place a brick of evidence into the foundation of your confidence. If you say you'll wake up at 6 a.m., and you actually put your feet on the floor the moment the alarm rings, you now have evidence. If you commit to making 10 sales calls, and you finish them despite fear, you've added another piece of evidence. Earl Schoaf once taught me a deep philosophy. "Jim, you don't have to convince yourself that you're excellent. Just do what excellent people do, and the evidence will convince you." When your evidence file gets thick enough, confidence appears automatically as an inevitable result, without any forcing or straining. In today's modern world filled with fake social media optics, it's easy to get pulled into building fake evidence. People take photos at the gym but don't actually train. They post pictures of books but never get past the first chapter. They think they're fooling the world, but in reality, they're destroying their own self-respect. Real evidence has to be tangible in real life. A growing bank balance from saving, a stronger body from training, and deeper knowledge from consistent learning. Never trade real evidence for virtual approval, because when life's biggest challenges hit, only real evidence will keep you standing. A courtroom metaphor makes this clearer. For a judge to rule that you are a champion, he doesn't listen to your speeches, he examines the evidence presented. Exhibit 1. You worked 1 extra hour every day for the past year. Exhibit 2. You stayed calm when facing public criticism. Exhibit 3. You finished the project on time, despite countless obstacles. When those exhibits are laid out, the verdict success becomes obvious and unquestionable. Life is that strict judge, and your job is to give it the most convincing evidence possible. There is a terrifying power that comes from owning a flawless proof portfolio with yourself. It gives you a kind of authority I call the calm of a winner. You no longer tremble in front of big goals because you look back and see yourself overcoming thousands of similar tests. You can do what you said you would do. This confidence doesn't depend on today's market or what other people think of you. It rests on an objective truth you wrote with sweat and discipline. Many startups and freelancers feel lost at the beginning because they have no proof of success yet. My advice to them is this: go get small wins immediately. Don't try to sign $1 million contract when you don't even have proof that you can serve one small client well. Accumulate evidence from the simplest tasks. These small wins will feed the belief that carries you toward bigger goals. Big success is a chain of small successes connected by the rope of consistency. Reality shows the people with the highest confidence are often the quietest workers. They don't need to brag or prove anything because they already have a treasure of evidence inside. They understand that real confidence is the quiet inner voice saying, "I've done it before and I'll do it again." When you reach this state, your mood is no longer what decides your actions. You act because you know who you are, and that person never backs down. Take inventory of your evidence file right now. In the last 30 days, how much evidence have you collected that you are moving closer to your goal? If your file is empty, don't despair, start laying the first brick today. Promise one extremely small thing and do it with 100% focus. Tomorrow, do one more. Before long, you will have a massive library of evidence protecting you from doubt. Remember this: confidence doesn't come from always being right. It comes from not being afraid to face mistakes. Because you have evidence, you can always get back up. Building confidence on evidence will transform you from someone who is trying into someone who has become. And once your identity has truly shifted, you'll realize success isn't only about what you have, it's about who you allow yourself to become. That's when you need to learn how to balance effort with long-term durability. Principle 11, make mood a reward, not fuel. Most people out there are running their lives in a backward way. They wait until they feel inspired, happy, or motivated before they start working. They use mood as fuel to start the engine of action. But look at reality. That fuel is extremely low quality, and it often runs out right when you need it most. The philosophy of exceptional people requires you to completely reverse this mindset. A good mood is not something you use to begin. A good mood is the reward you receive after. You complete the work with discipline. The relationship between action and emotion is not one way like we think. Action creates emotion faster and far more sustainably than sitting still and waiting for inspiration. When you force yourself to work while you're tired, and then you see concrete results begin to appear, that's when pride and excitement rise inside you. That is the reward for the person brave enough to step through stagnation. Earl Schoaf once reminded me, "Jim, don't wait to feel good to do good work. Do good work, and feeling good will chase you." In modern society, we're being poisoned by the idea that you need inspiration to create. Content creators, artists, and young entrepreneurs often get trapped waiting for a spark. The truth is, the greatest masterpieces in the world are often created during the driest, most disciplined hours of work. When you treat mood as a reward, you no longer feel pressured to always feel happy. You accept that you can begin in boredom, but you know you will end in satisfaction. That satisfaction is 1,000 times sweeter than the temporary inspiration you keep chasing. The exercise metaphor makes this clearest. Almost nobody feels excited at the moment they have to get out of bed and go to the gym at dawn. The feeling is usually fatigue, heaviness, and 1,000 reasons to quit. But remember how you feel after the workout ends. Endorphins flood your body, your mind clears, and you feel like you can conquer the world. That energized mood is the reward of discipline. If you need it as fuel, you'll never make it to the gym. But if you treat it as the reward, you'll always have a reason to finish the workout. There is massive psychological power when you hold this key. You become someone who fully controls your inner states. Instead of being a slave begging emotions for a little energy, you become the producer of energy. You can turn a negative mood into a positive one simply by taking action. This creates absolute freedom. You no longer fear bad days because you know how to use discipline to turn them into productive days. Action is the switch that turns on the light of joy. Many startups succeed because they build a culture of action first, emotion later. They don't hold meetings just to hype each other up with cliches. They focus on hitting small milestones, and those milestones create the excitement for the whole team. Success feeds success, and success also feeds mood. When you see revenue growing, when you see customers embracing the product, the earlier exhaustion suddenly disappears. That is the most sustainable self-motivating system an organization or an individual can own. The harsh reality is that people who keep searching for inspirational fuel will be left behind. They spend too much time watching motivational videos and listening to exciting podcasts, but they never actually put their hands to work. They're like someone sitting in a car, repeatedly revving the engine while the gear is still in neutral. The engine roars, smoke rises, but their position never changes. Smart people shift into gear and start rolling quietly. They know the momentum of movement creates the heat of motivation. Set a new standard for your life, starting today. I will work to feel good, not wait to feel good to work. Every time your mood drops, treat it as an invitation to act. Choose one small task from your priority list and complete it with full focus. You'll see the magic happen when the guilt of procrastination is replaced by the satisfaction of completion. Remember this: motivation is not the cause of action, it is the result of action. Once you understand how to make mood a reward, you've completed 90% of the transformation. Now you're no longer controlled by emotion. You have systems, evidence, and the right mindset. Only one final piece remains to turn all of this into a lifelong legacy, a principle that covers everything and keeps the fire of discipline from ever going out as time flows on. Principle 12. The mindset of a legacy builder. The final difference that separates truly great people from the rest of the world is their view of time. Most people act only to solve today's needs or soothe tomorrow's emotions. But the people who master iron discipline live with the mindset of a legacy builder. They don't work only for their present self. They work for who they will become in 10 years, 20 years, and for the values they will leave to the next generation. When you hold this mindset, small mood swings become ridiculous and meaningless. Imagine you are building a cathedral of eternal stone. Would you stop laying foundation bricks just because today you feel a little tired? Would you abandon a 1,000-year project because a sudden rainstorm drags your mood down? Of course not. Because your goal is far bigger than temporary feelings in the body. Legacy is built when you set the selfish me aside to serve something higher. Earl Schoaf once told me, "Jim, live so that your name becomes a definition of consistency." In today's consumer society, we're surrounded by short-term thinking. People want to get rich fast, become famous instantly, get results without the process. That impatience makes discipline fragile, because when results don't show up immediately, they get discouraged and quit. Legacy builders are the opposite. They understand the laws of time and ripening. They know every disciplined day is a brushstroke in a great life painting. That painting can't be finished overnight. It demands the patience of a skilled craftsman. This philosophy requires you to raise your own standards. Don't be disciplined only because you want more money or a better body. Be disciplined because you want to be a role model for your children, your team, and your community. When you know people are watching how you live and using it as fuel, you won't dare to abandon yourself to low emotions. The legacy builder's strength comes from responsibility. Responsibility is the purest fuel to push through every mood barrier. The metaphor of planting a forest will help you absorb this final principle. A forest planter doesn't plant trees to get shade tomorrow. They plant for people they may never even meet to enjoy the shade 50 years later. Your discipline today is planting those seeds. You may feel lonely today, tired today, like nobody notices your effort. But remember, the greatest shade is always created by the quietest days of planting. Don't let the ego's impatience ruin your future forest. Reality shows the most enduring legacies are always shaped by rules that never change. The world may shift from the industrial age to the age of artificial intelligence, but the value of integrity, perseverance, and self-discipline remains the only true compass. By running your life on iron principles, you are building a fortress time cannot erode. You are no longer a dry leaf blown around by emotional winds. You become an ancient tree with roots deep in the soil of eternal values. Many startup founders and great leaders ask me for the secret to maintaining influence. I always answer, live consistently with what you believe, even when nobody is watching. That consistency is the core of legacy. When your actions merge as one with your ideals, you radiate a natural pull no advertisement can create. People will trust you, follow you, and be inspired by you, not because you are perfect, but because you never surrender to emotional mediocrity. Ask yourself the most important question of your life. Do you want to be remembered as someone who lived fully for big values, or as someone who lived dependent on mood swings? Your answer will determine the entire road ahead. It's time to stop living for short-term feelings. It's time to start building your legacy. Remember this, the main purpose of discipline is not to achieve success, but to become the person worthy of that success. We've gone through a long journey with 12 golden principles to take control of life. From recognizing the emotional trap, building systems, to setting a legacy mindset. I hope that after this video, you no longer see discipline as a burden, but as your most loyal companion. Success is not a miracle that falls from the sky. Success is the inevitable result of a chain of right decisions executed consistently every day. Don't let this knowledge stay in your memory. Take it out into the world and start applying it from this very moment. Start with principle 1, consistency. Choose the smallest thing and swear to yourself that you will do it no matter what happens. That is how you begin the revolution inside your soul. Thank you for taking the time to watch this extremely long video. The patience to stay until the end is the first piece of evidence that you have the qualities of a successful person. If you find this valuable, share it with the people you care about. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next transformation journeys. Remember my final message. Mood is a good servant, but a terrible master. Take the wheel, run your life on iron principles, and start mastering your destiny today. See you at the peak of success.